The silly moments, the proud moments, even the hard moments. They're why Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield is committed to making healthcare better, more affordable, with more choices for care, and peace of mind through it all. Because Blue is here for you.
Welcome to the Made in Iowa podcast, presented by Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I'm your host, Lisa Fox, and I get the great pleasure to sit down with Ben Cox and Brad Jungling with LDJ Manufacturing. They produce Thunder Creek equipment, fuel haulers, and you get to hear their story of automation, innovation, and how they care for their employees. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. I am thrilled to have in the studio with me today two of the leaders of a little sleeper manufacturing company right off of 163 on the way to Pella, Thunder Creek Equipment, also known as LDJ Manufacturing. I've got Ben Cox, who is the president, and Brad Jungling, who is the VP of operations. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having us, Lisa.
Thank you.
Ben, we met, I don't know, it's probably been a month ago, and I asked if I could come for a tour because for 30 years I've been driving past your plant and had absolutely no clue what happened behind those walls.
Lisa, I think you just told me you were going to come in for a tour. I don't know that you asked, but okay, yes.
I really appreciate the kind invitation. It's so great. I love being able to actually do the tour before the interview because it gives me such insight into your organization. And in this case, I'm going to brag about you a little bit. When I went for the tour, number one, it looks from the outside like several farm outbuildings. You feel like you are literally on a farmstead until you crack the door open and the level of automation, technology, and attention to detail, the workforce that you have working there, the level of skill that you've recruited. Are you technically Monroe?
It's still Pella.
Is it Pella?
Yep.
Okay. To Pella, Iowa is outstanding. Brad, you came aboard 2 years ago
Correct.
as VP of Operation. And Ben, you've been there how long?
Since March of 2020. Good timing, huh?
Did you shut down?
No, never did shut down. And in fact, the team did an extremely commendable job throughout this whole COVID experience.
Both of you come from a long career at Pella Corporation, and that laid an amazing foundation for you that you now get to bring to an ESOP, your employee owned, and a smaller company, both privately held. How did your time at Pella Corporation help you with those skills that you need to lead at Thunder Creek?
Yeah, I'll jump in that, spending 30 years at Pella Corporation, a wonderful business to learn and grow up in and have mentors throughout that. Had a number of opportunities, not only within Pella, but other areas of the country that moved in, and from turnarounds to startups. You learn quite a bit through there and build a lot of great relationships and people that invest in you. And so it really was a great opportunity over those 30 years to build up muscle and strength and figure out how to lead. And just very grateful for the opportunities that you had there, but also just the mentors that invested in you throughout your career.
Awesome. How about you, Brad?
Yeah, great company. I have great memories of working at Pella and the people that I work with, and I learned so much. The benefit of being in a big organization with the resources that they have and the things you learn is invaluable. And then when you come to a smaller company now, the fun challenge is how do I take some of those great things and scale them to what's most important for the team at Thunder Creek. So yeah, it was a great time in my career, but as I look back, I'm just very thankful for how it all turned out, because now I'm in a culture that's very similar, but we can make decisions, we can be nimble. We don't have to.
It doesn't have the hierarchy.
Yes, it's a lot
that
of
you
fun.
have in a larger company like that.
And it's, if I can add in there, it's been a journey, right? When I first came on with Thunder Creek and LDJ there, the founders was trying to figure out how to make the transition, and they were thinking about, can they, would it be feasible to be an employee-owned company? And so, it's a faith-based organization, but they really believe they own that business. We're stewards of that business for a season, and then trying to figure out how do we possibly leave this for the employees that help get them from to where they started to where they ended in there. And we're very passionate about making that happen. So that was one of the things that I was brought on to see if we could help figure that out. And that happened at the end of 2022. So we're early in the journey of being an employee-owned company, but that is another great reason. Just love being part of this transition in this story, that employees own this, and then having a group that is invested in what you do and invested in each other is really a great place to just continue on your career and help through this transition as well.
And we have to give credit where credit is due. The Van Wyck family started this thing, and their passion was incredible, and they had this vision, and it's amazing what they built. And now we're just trying to take that and keep that trajectory going. And so a lot of credit for where it is today is the foundation that family laid.
Yeah.
And the automation, level of technology, and the products that you create were very surprising when I did the tour. But probably the most surprising was the level of engagement, enthusiasm, and ownership that every person that I met on that floor had for your products. I was blown away. Talk about the intentionality of communication within your workforce. What does that look like at Thunder Creek?
Yeah, I'm glad you say you were surprised at that. We never want to be taking that for granted, but that, we build great products. We haven't talked a little bit about that.
Yeah,
but,
we're going to.
We build, premium fuel and service equipment for the ag and construction market, but it's all about the people. And we've got some really great people that build great products out there. And that was going on before we became an employee-owned company. And now you add that on top of it, and the level of engagement that we have, and but you've got to be very intentional with that too, right? That we try to have a high level of communication with the team, as well as transparency of information. And if you're going to be employee owners, you got to talk about employee owner information and share a lot of different things. So that's been part of the transition as well. And we hope and strive to continue to have that feel more and more like we've got employees that think, act, and make decisions like owners, because they are.
And you said something earlier before we turned the mics on. You want your employees to be seen, safe, and significant.
Yes. I think a big element for that is, when you have people that they want to be treated like people, not seen or treated like employees. And I think, when we talk about that and we're talking with our management team and how well we lead, it's making sure that people do feel seen, that they feel that they do matter on that front, and then, safe to be, who they are, or they get a strong sense of belonging, and they get to be who they are, and they get to show up to work that way. They don't have to put on a different face. And then significant in the sense that my job matters. And, and it just, overall, everybody's got great ideas, especially if you're in working on something very specific. We want your ideas and help us make better. And if we all have that kind of attitude, that's a tough crew to beat.
All right, let's get into the products and the evolution of LDJ. First, what were the initials LDJ representative of?
Yeah. So as Brad mentioned there, I got Lauren, and Danetta Jean. There's some people that say Dan. There's a father Dan that was in there, but it was really family name that started. And as you mentioned, it was on the family farm. This was started as an initiative to supplement some farm income because Lauren was very innovative thinker on how he put equipment, how he farmed, all those types of things, but then a really high degree of quality on how they built things. And then, hey, somebody asking, would you build this for us? Would you do that? So they did a lot of subcontract work for folks, just again, to supplement that. And then, as you mentioned about the buildings, pretty soon they're into something else, building something for Pellicorp or Vermeer, Harley Davidson was doing some things. And, even did some amazing heat corn furnaces at some point. And so a building gets added and a building gets added. And, eventually they stepped out of farming to focus full time on manufacturing. And then in 2006, the Thunder Creek became the first square by design fuel trailer, and that's where the focus became. And right now, that's our sole focus is Thunder Creek, where we provide that equipment, like I mentioned, on the ag and construction side throughout the country. But that's what our sole focus is right now. And we've got a few more buildings since then to increase capacity, and that's why you kind of
it just goes on and on and on. You get in there and you're like, wait, this is an optical illusion from the front of the building.
But that, it's just a great success story about how somebody gets in, and the Van Wyck family, they required a lot of perseverance to get through that, pivot a couple times off of what was going on in the economy, and then all the same time, driving a faith-based organization with strong core values that they just want to be very true to. And that's really what led to the ESOP too, is it just all started there and is finishing there and passing it on to the next group that's going to steward this business.
And the industries that you serve now are very dependent on your products. Talk about the types of trailers. For those that are listening have never seen a Thunder Creek trailer, explain to us the purpose of the trailers and the industries that you serve.
Yeah, so fuel delivery, and that's ag and industrial channels. So that the ag industry has an exemption where farmers, if you're a farmer in the ag industry, you can haul fuel on our roadways without any special permits. So that's where it all started.
Okay.
Is a larger tank of fuel. And then at the same time, diesel engines started using diesel exhaust fluid, DEF. So DEF and fuel together given to a farmer, and they can now go out and fuel their equipment in the spring and the fall. The industrial side is a product that allows for large quantities of fuel, but it's in smaller containers within that truck or that trailer. So our industrial customers, they can haul fuel too. They don't need the exemption because of the design, and they can haul without special permits.
And Ben, you gave me the example of Amazon, for example. Instead of all of those Amazon trucks going to gas stations or however they used to go get their fuel, these trailers can actually come on site while they're parked and fill the trucks right there on premise, correct?
Yeah, a lot of, there's fleet groups out there. So whether it be Amazon or FedEx or cement trucks, that a lot of folks will come in and park their vehicles at night, and their shift is over, and then somebody will come around and with the mobile application there, fill them up or do service work. They can do preventative service work. We've got some trailers that do that as well. So really it is about optimizing your people and making sure they're out there doing the value add that they can do. But at the same time, how can you efficiently do that without having everybody go do it themselves?
Let's talk about your sales channels. How are you distributing your products?
Mainly through a dealer. So we've got some ag dealers and we've got some construction dealers, folks that don't just sell, what we have, but ag dealers will have large equipment suppliers like John Deere, for instance.
Or Vermeer, correct?
Well, Vermeer, we don't have as much overlap with some of their equipment, but it does happen on some of there. But anybody that sells large equipment, in the construction world or ag world, you're going to eventually need to have fueling for that. And so
Right.
that's a great 1-2 combination for a lot of dealers to have. And so we've got a lot of the Midwest. You got a lot of ag dealers, but throughout the country, you've got a lot of construction or industrial dealers that work with folks that are working on road and bridge and construction or forestry, mining work. There's just a number of applications where diesel is very important to keeping their operations up and running and efficient.
Brad, I want to get into the operations side because you are moving highly flammable liquid down the roadway. I would assume you've got some pretty tight restrictions that you have to operate within. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about how you ensure that these products are safe going down the roadways?
Yeah, the key there is how we manufacture the tanks, and they have to obviously perform well. All of our tanks are pressure checked, so every tank we produce, and most of them are produced automatically, so we have robotic welding that makes sure that we're going to be consistent. But they're all pressure checked, and we keep track of all that. So I would say that's one of our core competencies is our ability to weld steel tanks that don't leak.
And talk about the weight of these trailers and the customization that goes into them, because you are building these most of the time to very specific needs.
Yeah, there's a high degree of customization. So different pumping systems, different sizes of tanks. On the preventative maintenance side, there's tanks for oil. There could be tanks for transmission fluid or antifreeze. So lots of configurations. Some of our preventative maintenance trailers, and all of this is on truck upfits as well. But it can also have air compressors and generators, and so the base unit is pretty standard. But after that, our customers can pretty much design what they need to solve their problems.
And you guys are always innovating to meet the needs of your customers. You talk about the move into the trucks. What made you say, yeah, I think we need to do this?
Well, it probably depends on the job site you're talking to and the manager in charge of that. But sometimes a trailer is great, but I can never find a truck, right?
Right.
And there's other times where you've got a project that's downtown New York, and you're trying to navigate traffic and trying to haul a pickup in a trailer. Not very practical. And so, really, if it's configured right, like Brad talked about. You don't need a CDL, you don't need a hazmat, but you're able to drive this upfit in some tight areas, get back to places that other larger fueling options may not go, and you can just get in and out without specialty permits and license required. So it really becomes a great asset for some of these that either have remote sites or tight fits that they're trying to get to.
And what is the max capacity of fuel you can have on one of your trailers or trucks?
Well, on the ag side, it'd be we produce it for 990 gallons. On the what we'd say industrial side, because they've got individual tanks, would be 920 gallons.
Wow, that's a lot of fuel.
Yeah.
I want to go into the automation side of your world and what that's looked like since you started in 2020. And then again, Brad comes in with a different lens and probably even added to that innovation. How much of the automation and advancement on the floor is a product of your team coming to you with a need?
Yeah, welding automation has been pretty standard for a long time. So the company's been utilizing that for quite some time. Where we're starting to take that to another level and getting the team involved is how can we optimize that? So when you have an automated welder that's welding, you want to keep that welder welding.
Busy.
Right? So some of the work we're doing is figuring out how we can work on the flow to that machine through continuous improvement activities and getting ideas from our team on how we can assure that that welder keeps welding rather than person loads it, they watch it work, take it off, put another one in. That's non-value added time. So spending some time just educating our team on what to look for and then understanding what's really happening and then eliminating a lot of that non-value added time.
You introduced me to a term earlier, going to Gimba.
Going to Gimba.
I had never heard it before, but by gum, I'm going to use it a lot now. Talk about going to Gimba and how you learned that discipline and how you're pushing that into the plant floor at LDJ.
Sure. Yeah, going to Gimba is going to the shop floor and seeing. So the Toyota production system, which is the root of all lean manufacturing in the world, the originators of that, the chairman and CEO of Toyota is famous for saying, it's interesting to see things on a report in the boardroom, but you really need to go see to see what's really happening. So going to Gemba is to go see. And the point of that is understand what's really happening, but more importantly is how do you learn from the experts that are doing it every day? So you have to be there, you have to be asking questions, you have to be great listeners, and you have to value the people for what they do, right? And now we can start understanding what the current state is, and then together we can do some brainstorming to figure out how do we make the current state better. So
many manufacturing leaders get stuck in this crisis cycle where they're constantly fixing problems, and it doesn't allow them to step back. And as you said, Ben, work on the business, not in the business. How have you created that discipline within your operation?
I think a big thing, and I'll let Brad chime in on this too, is really just being intentional about stepping out of the business. And a lot of times for us, it means getting away, getting off site, talking about the business and, where potential bottlenecks or opportunities are, understanding any mix swings that you might have with product as well. But, you have to zoom out on occasion and make sure you're really looking at it. And it is easy to get caught up in day-to-day, week-to-week kind of things. But the ability to zoom out and see where the duck's going to be is just really critical for us. So I'd just say being very intentional about spending time and talking through some of those things. And then, being very curious about what others might be doing as well. So getting into other factories or, we'll go to certain tech shows and that kind of thing, just understanding what else might be out there. So, as you very well know, we've got a lot of great businesses in the state of Iowa that we can learn from each other quite a bit too. So just networking and understanding what others are doing that you might be able to apply differently to your business.
And Brad, as I was touring, I got to meet Levi, was I think the first one that I met when I came in for the tour. The ownership he takes in not only knowing his employees, but knowing his craft and the pride that just oozes out of him in the pouring in of his team. That's not by accident.
Yeah, Levi.
Levi. But by the way, did you see him smiling like a proud dad or something? He's not his dad, but Levi is here because of Brad and just the connections in there, and so that's why I'll explain the smile that's on his face because we're both Levi fans, but he's here because of Brad.
Wow. Yeah, Levi came to us a little over a year ago and knew nothing about that area. So, but
you'd never know it.
He came in he already knew how to love people, and he already knew how to create a team environment and keep score and know how we're doing and challenge and hold people accountable. All the things that servant leaders do. He had a really nice foundation. He was a college athlete, and that comes through all the time. So the passion that you see is just him competing and him rallying his team around just getting better every day. And Levi's he's a kind of a classic. If someone wants to lead because they know how to treat and care for people, they can learn the process. And after a year, you thought he was a process expert.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
And I would say his ability to empower others is just another thing that just pulls that whole team together.
One of maybe the most underrated parts of the manufacturing facility is the paint booth and the prep and that whole process. I got to meet Matt.
You met Matt. He's the paint man. He knows all about paint.
His pride in that final product. And by the way, your trailers are gorgeous. That final paint is absolutely beautiful, and they're perfect. From my eyes, they're absolutely perfect. Talk about, I guess it would be the delayed gratification that comes with starting at LDJ in some sort of prep position in painting. Because Matt very specifically said to me, I don't want experienced painters because I don't want the baggage they bring with them. Yeah. So talk about, because you're not going to become an amazing painter overnight. That is a skill that is built with doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah, I'll let Brad jump in, but I'll give a little shout out to Matt. He's been with us over 20 years, and you could see the care he has, and that's what his team gets about what we're trying to do and what the good is in our line of work. But I'll let you address that question because Matt's great to have on the team.
So Matt is kind of the opposite story of Levi. So Matt is a process expert. He grew up as a great painter, but he's learning how to be a leader.
Wow.
And what's been so fun in Matt's transformation is taking that I'm just going to lead by example to, even though I'm shy, I'm gonna be in front of the team, and I'm gonna help them thrive. I'm gonna listen and respond, and I'm gonna be consistent. So it's been a joy to watch Matt continue to grow. After 20 years, he's become not only a really great paint trainer and wants to train people how to paint, but also he's turning into a great leader because his team is really seeing him care for them.
Hi, everyone. I'm Business Record Editor Sarah Dean. I just wanted to pop in here quick before we get back to Lisa's great conversation with this week's guest to take a moment and share about our virtual manufacturing forecast event coming up on August 6th at noon. This year, we're sharing Iowa manufacturers' stories of adaptation. As Lisa has learned through her conversations on the Made in Iowa podcast, a successful future in the manufacturing sector depends on being willing and able to adapt. She'll be moderating this event, interviewing leaders about their lessons and results from adaptation, and we'll also look ahead at expectations for the manufacturing economy in the next year. We hope you join us. You can register by visiting businessrecord.com/events or by visiting the link in the description.
The other thing that struck me throughout the tour is the investment you've made in redundancy. And you are creating a backup for your customers in case. And in some instances, you probably haven't even used the redundancy, but it's there if you need it.
There's a limit to that. Ben only gives me so much money.
Let's talk about the recent redundancy challenge and how you applied it. We had a paint booth issue, correct?
Yeah, this is very new problem. We're in the middle of it right now, but investment was made in capacity several years ago. The capacity was built in such a way that there is redundancy. There's some shared parts. So we had our main line went down.
For paint line?
Our main paint line went down. We were able to take components from the other paint line and move it over, and the other paint line is still a capacity. We use it a couple times a week. We were able to just seamlessly, we lost just a few hours of production and move that portion of the product over. And now that's bought us some time to get the permanent fix in place.
But Lisa, to your point, sometimes you're managing capacity and redundancy at the same time, just knowing, how important it is to hit lead times and promise dates and things like we've got. And so there's an element there that, we're not going to wait to get behind on something, but because if it's not if something happens, it's when something happens. And for us, not only is quality such a big element for us, but doing what we said we're going to do and doing, integrity is really a big definition of what we do, carrying integrity and excellence on that side of it. And part of that is being ready for those types of things when they occur, not if.
Right. And what I love about this is if you hadn't had that redundant equipment, you could have been down not just hours, but days. And
Yeah,
so
it's all linked together.
yeah, it really is.
And that's the risk reward equation that we're always trying to balance in manufacturing is, how much redundancy can you afford to have in case, or preferably you can have the redundancy and you're still going to get some value from it as you're ramping up. So that's how we try and think about it.
I love it. Let's talk about the craftsmanship that goes into your products and how you balance the need to automate with the craftsmanship that has to exist with building your products. How do you make those decisions on when to automate? And also, many of your products are highly customized, like we talked about. So how do you automate in a way that can adjust to the various needs that you have on the plant floor?
Yeah, I'd say first it has to be complementary. So our automation is helping our team members be more successful, helping them be more repeatable, more reproducible. So we're using technology and automation where things are difficult for people to do for a long time, big, heavy. We automate that. That allows our team members to be more fresh,
Right.
and they can focus on the things that really matter. The other thing that automation gains you is consistency of that product, which can help you with craftsmanship down the road. So if you assure that the parts are right all the time because your automation is sound, now when you do need to put that all together from a craftsman standpoint, you have a much better chance for success.
Ben, talk about filtering out some of that monotonous work and how that helps with retention.
Yeah, I think, as Brad mentioned, you're looking at parts that maybe, we'd say, ask somebody, what's your worst part of your job? Oh, when I've got to get underneath and I've got to pull a weld this length of time, or I've got to lift these parts. So you're looking for things that, as Brad mentioned, are hard to do, or certainly difficult, and day after day take their toll on people doing that. So you're looking to find ways to automate those things, and then leverage those team members to watch those parts, program those, how they're working in there. And you're just going to, because they're the experts, they know what good looks like. And while we can program it all we want, you're always checking for tolerances on those types of things. And, that's where we need their eyes and expertise to tell us, is this happening the way we intend it to happen? So it's, the team members are so vital in this process. We're just trying to be smart about how we do and what we choose to automate in there. And I think, sometimes people look at automation and think, oh, well, that does that part. Well, the way this automation works, and we can have 30, 40, up to 50 parts that are automated for a machine. So there's a lot of variety that can run across that automation too, because of the complexity in different parts that we have.
The other thing that I noticed was your laser cutter and the opportunity that created. So you were actually outsourcing that
so
before.
In 2019, we got our first laser cutter. So otherwise, we cut parts off of large sheets of steel. We were outsourcing that, and bringing that in house was a big investment at the time. But as we continue to grow, that made sense for us, and really allows that vertical integration, which is fantastic, where we get to be in control of what we do and what parts we have, and we can manage that and manage yields. And, that's also another element where we've got some additional capacity and redundancy with a second laser that came in a few years ago as well, because that's such a critical piece that everything in the frame and the tanks we build in-house. So that's, we get to control that. We get to not only control when that's being produced and how much is in stock, but the quality that we have. So that's a big element for us right now.
Brad, talk about cross-training and how important that is, and versatility within your teams so that you can be nimble.
Yeah, it's really that redundancy theme, right? We've tried to expand our cross-training not only within a department, but cross-department, and we're really starting to see some benefits from that. where we can incentivize people and train them and reward them for that. And they're getting more skills. They're becoming more valuable to the company. We reward that. And then now we've got more flexibility. So if a machine goes down, we can move some people around if we have to recover, or if there's people that have illness or things that happen. Just taking PTO, it's just important that you've got a 2 or 3 deep on every job is probably a goal that we would shoot for.
Awesome. The other thing that struck me is the demographic diversity in your workforce. A lot of times I'll go into a plant and 75% of them look like we do. You have you've got young people working right next to the more mature people. And it seems from the outside that there is a lot of mutual respect and attention on both sides of that. It's not that the young are just sitting at the feet and learning from the more mature, but it seems to be going both ways. How do you encourage that and foster the learning on both sides?
That's an interesting observation. And I'll tell you, that's probably not real. We're not doing that on purpose. But now that you say that, I think it's an offshoot of the fact that we've got a culture that cares for each other. And when that culture is evident and we're encouraging and helping people understand the importance of that, I think that's just a natural outcome. So that's an interesting observation that you made. And that's the correlation I would draw, is our caring culture.
Yeah. And it is absolutely obvious. Let's talk about planning for the future. It seems to me that you've automated where you can. You've created efficiencies within your operations. What's next, and how do you determine what's next?
I think for us, it is always going to be a continuous improvement journey. There's always things to work on, but our focus is obviously being market-driven organization where we're understanding what other things we could be doing for our customers. So yes, we've got a great breadth. We've introduced some new products this year. We've got some more plans on some other things as well. So new product development is just continuing to expand our reach and how we support customers throughout the country. And then, I think from our standpoint, great, you can drive the front wheel and a lot happening with sales and marketing and all the different world that marketing and the how you advertise and get a hold of people is just ever changing. Monthly on some of that. But then on the backside, then it's, making sure we've got the capacity and we've got a plan to do that. And I think part of that is going to be equipment. And the other part of that is being people. And so, one thing that you mentioned there, Lisa, was, people getting along with that, clearly. And I think that might be the case for a lot of companies, but for us, the best recruiting tool we've got is referral business. And hey, this is a business you want to come be in. There's something a little different. That's what we're striving to be. And so we get people that want, if you think they're going to be a great teammate, let's get them on this team and be part of that. So, I think that element as we continue to grow and strengthen our workforce and our team and come in and be an employee owners with us, where you are vested in the outcome of this. You get a share in the prosperity and growth that we get to have at LDJ and as we sell Thunder Creek equipment. I think that's just, we'd like that to be a compelling story to bring people in. And if we do that really well, they'll bring more people in. And that's going to be how we just continue to keep moving forward. And, because our goal is to continue to grow this business. We've got a lot of opportunities out there yet.
I want to wrap this up by number one. When I met Robin at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, she was at the very end of the assembly. She is the one that puts the final stickers,
the
gorgeous
details on there.
stickers, on your trailers. And she left. Was it teaching that?
She's had a little variety of different roles. Right before she came here, she's working at a different manufacturer that was in town. But yeah.
Yeah. And she loves her job. Like just absolutely. And
We're trying to convince her not to retire.
right. And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, you know what? I got a good 10 years. I could put maybe stickers on. If you'd have, no, I'm kidding. Kind of. I'll take Robin's job when she's ready
It might
to
be
leave.
one of the
How's
hardest
that?
jobs in our factory, actually.
Right. And I'm telling you, I have no attention to detail. So I'm pretty sure
all right.
I would not
you're
be
not
a
helping
fit.
your case, Lisa.
I am not. Darn it. I failed this interview. But I want to talk about your succession plan because we're not getting any younger. And clearly the prior owners the Van Wyks were very intentional about where the company is going. How are you building your bench and what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, I'll come back to that same word, being very intentional about that we need to continue to build leaders in this organization that get us, know what we're trying to do out of that. And so I think it's building leaders in, but as you grow, some of that talent is going to come from inside and some of it's going to come from outside. So I think, we when we step out or zoom out, we'll do quite a bit of discussion around succession planning and where development plans need to be, in some of that, observations that we share with team members, but we've also done a biannual survey that we've done, and we've got really great feedback from our team members saying, here's what we're doing well, here's what we can do better. And the great news with some of this is we do a lot of things really well. It doesn't mean we've arrived and there's always things to work on, but to watch us continue to improve because you're being intentional about it and seeing the difference that it makes, that's just very encouraging. So, my long-winded answer on that, Lisa, is that you got to be very intentional, and we're pouring into people that we can get that can be better leaders and ready to step up in the next roles that are in there. But we're also just continuing to keep an eye open on who else would fit in this organization, right? Because you mentioned Levi earlier. We didn't hire him because of his experience. We hired him because of the leader he was and the attitude that he brings. And I'll bet on that every day.
You bet. And one of the other things that I want to mention, there are probably 15 things in my notes here that I failed to bring up, but we're running out of time. You are very clear in expectations and performance metrics. Talk about that process. And when a person starts, they know what is expected of them, and they know the tiers that they can march through, correct?
Yeah, we feel like it's very important that we have a very clear standard and we train to that standard. We also think it's important for our team members to understand that there's ways for them to add more value, increase their skills. So we've created a structure where our team can grow. So every position has 4 levels, and it's not just knowing the job, the skills of the job. So from a level 1 to a level 2, you would know more positions, but also it's from a level 1 to a level 2, you're a better teammate. Your behaviors are increasing accordingly. So that system is meant to give people some goals, allow them to set some goals. And we've told people, we'll help you all get to level 4 if you want to get to level 4. It's our highest paid level. But we know that they're going to be the most cross-trained, they're going to be the best teammates. And boy, what a powerful place that could be. Right?
Absolutely. And
This allows for a lot of proactive conversations with folks. And, part of this...
non-emotional, proactive communication.
Yeah.
It is, because,
it's black and white, right?
There's a lot of care that you can put in there, but, sometimes you do have to have honest conversations about where those opportunities are, and sometimes they see them and sometimes they're blind spots. But, really just sitting down, and if they know you've got their best interest in mind, you can have really great conversations and use a tool like this to help us get to that next level and talk about, sometimes it's just even sharing, I see a lot of potential in here, maybe potential in you that you don't. And let's keep talking about it. So sometimes you're an encourager, and other times you're a truth teller out of this, but what a great tool for our managers to use on the production side of things.
In our servant leadership training, we talk about many attributes of a servant leader, and one of those is honesty. And we talk about if you're not holding people consistently accountable, you're being dishonest. In fact, you're being deceitful, because
Amen.
everybody needs to understand where they are. And the interesting thing about that is when you are dishonest and aren't giving feedback, everybody else is seeing this and going, "What's going on?"
Yep.
So we're trying
And it discredits the entire system.
It does. So we're trying to create a structure where leaders can have those discussions a little more naturally and a little less emotionally.
I always talk about the difference between a peacekeeper and a peacemaker. And keeping peace is not kind.
Right.
Peacemakers are kind and telling you what you need to hear.
We talk about that as love. It's
Yeah.
that's unconditional
It
love.
is.
And that doesn't mean that you're just nice.
We don't become good people without a little discipline.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
we've all, we talked earlier in our career having right mentors, right? And those mentors, do try to step in and tell you what you need to hear, right? And, Brad has
Ben
spent
does a great job of that. He tells me what I need to hear a lot.
But Brad working with his team, talking about servant leadership, and and that's where Jim Hunter will talk about sometimes you love hard and sometimes you spank hard out of that too, but you do that both from a caring standpoint. Yeah. And if you're approaching that with the right context, you can talk a lot of conversations with folks, and we've been intentional about some training about how to do that well, and we've been surprised at how some people are scared to do some of that, and then they have and said that went a lot better than I thought,
Right.
because I approached it the right way. And some of those conversations I'll say are 2-3 years past due,
Right.
but stepping into those, and so that is about becoming better leaders for our teams and showing up for them, and maybe more than you wanted to get into there, Lisa, but
No.
I think for us, if we can be very predictable for our team, if we can lead with curiosity on that side of it, and then if we can connect with a smile, right? When you're coming out, hey, how you doing? You see them, and then you can address problems on that. But for us, that PCS is what we call that, and being predictable, curious, and connecting with a smile. That is an element that starts the ability, the trust that allows you to do those hard conversations when they need to happen.
Well, and I was struck by the trust that exists with a relatively new leadership team. And that's rare. So congratulations for the difference that you're making, one employee at a time. And that really does make a difference. And it shows in your products too. So
Well, we've got a great team. I know I can speak for Brad and I. Just we're blessed to be part of this team and just playing our role. But it takes everybody, as we all know. Success is a team sport. So thank you.
it is. Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for tuning in to Made in Iowa. Subscribe, like, and share wherever you listen. Catch episodes weekly from the Iowa Everywhere studio on the BPC streaming network.